I wonder if you wanted to just talk about what's important when how you like to receive stories, because it's different, it's TV and radio, and then obviously yourself, because it's different, you know, the lead time's different for print. So do you want to...
Okay.
So how you'd like to receive
Well,
information?
you touched on it before. A lot of my stories come from personal relationships. So I'll meet people, I'll talk to them, and often they don't even know it's a story. So they'll tell me something that they've seen in the community, or trends that they've seen, whether it's a doctor I'm speaking to, or a lawyer. They'll say, oh, well, I've seen an increase in this, or did you know about this? And I think, oh, tell me more, that's a story. Other times, like, say, my relationship with people in the government, they'll come to me with a launch that they've got, say, in a month's time. But how I like to receive things, you know, very few people come to me with the right things. So I'll give you an example. 2 weeks ago, this charity that spent 5 years doing some research, they came to me with their findings. They'd done something looking at domestic violence, and it's a big issue for the government and policymakers about how to deal with the perpetrators of domestic violence, and whether these so-called perpetrator programs, these kind of rehabilitation programs, work. Now, this charity had done 5 years of research and found that they can work, which was quite interesting. And I went to the BBC News. They were very interested in a report, various parts of the BBC. This is mainstream media. And they were really interested. Now the next step was the charity helping me to kind of get the things I need to do the report. They can't just say, with radio and TV, I need contributors, I need people in the report. Like when you put the news channel on, you'll see that there's short 3-minute reports and there's various people. It's not just the presenter telling you everything. So I needed a story of someone that had gone through one of these programs, access to a program to be able to film, and they just couldn't get it from me. So they spent 5 years doing this research. In that time, they didn't think that, you know what, it's good to get these things in place so that we can go to the media. And it's a real shame because they lost an enormous amount of media coverage because they just didn't plan effectively. All they needed to do was to get someone that had gone through the program to talk about their experience anonymously, and that was it. So I think when people come to me with a story, they need to give us some access, either it's facts, some figures. They can't say, oh, well, the number of homeless people has gone up. Okay, by how much? Since when? I need a little bit of meat to the story. And then, if you're a charity working with homeless people, can you make me speak to someone that's homeless, been in that situation? So if people want me to take a story seriously and pitch it to the editors, they need to give me proper information and some access that I otherwise wouldn't be able to get.
Yeah, I think I agree with a lot of what you're saying there, which is about having a network of people who really understand how important access is. One of my own experiences last year was we were doing a feature in the paper where we were looking at various celebrations within the Asian community, one of which was for Saki, which we really wanted to cover. And when it came down to really sourcing, you know, photographers, people from the community that we could really talk, or maybe, you know, spend a day with to talk about, you know, the preparations for the celebration, you know, what that really entails, all those kind of details, it became really, really difficult actually to make that happen. And, you know, there wasn't a thread of communication that made my job easy. So I think that, you know, there's a number of things. One is about visibility in the media. So, you know, people like us who are kind of pushing through, you know, these stories, you know, this is something that exists. This is an events calendar where, you know, Vasaki should definitely be on, and this is definitely something we should be covering. But then more than that, it's also saying, okay, well, not only is this something that's happening, but this is something that we should cover, and this is how we should cover it. These are the people within the community that we should be speaking to. And I think if you have all of those kind of relationships with us, and you have a press release, you have, you know, photographers, you have someone who can film, those kind of things are really amazing. It makes our jobs a lot easier because quite a lot of the time we're speaking to, you know, English, white, you know, mainstream media who don't understand that at all. So for them to also, you know, agree to have that covered, you know, to have like a double page spread in somewhere like The Guardian or in the paper, they need to really understand that. And so it really helps my job if I can say, this is definitely a thing, this is being backed up by members of the community who, you know, are really on board and want that story to be told as well. So I think quite often when you're speaking from minority perspectives, you need to work quite hard at, you know, teaching the mainstream about your community and your background.